guys? Another sports talk that I'm about to talk about. And one topic I want to talk about is the Club Shay podcast with him and Marshawn Lynch. Shannon Sharp was talking about the career of Marshawn Lynch, Alexis' career. Him with the Buffalo Bills, him with the Seahawks, and him ending it off kind of going to the Oakland Raiders and then going back to the Seahawks as well. And pretty much, what caught me on that podcast is a couple of things that caught me on that podcast, but the most important thing that caught me in that podcast was, number one, what he said about his relationship with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. And what he said about Pete Carroll is that he did not really mess with Pete Carroll in the sense that Pete Carroll was a little bit too rah. He liked Pete Carroll's kind of energy that he brought in. He said it worked, but he kind of tried to ruffle kind of Marshawn Lynch's kind of feathers coming into football games. But Marshawn Lynch is more of a chill guy, and he's ready. He already knows what he needs to do and just to get ready and things of that nature. Another thing he just didn't like is that he kind of babied Russell Wilson, kind of didn't really hold Russell Wilson to the standard, hold kind of Russell Wilson kind of accountable on his mess ups as kind of the whole team. And he didn't really, and he only saw Russell Wilson as a quarterback. So that means that they just didn't have that relationship outside of football that kind of other kind of teammates should have. He didn't really they didn't have each other's phone numbers. They didn't really talk outside of football. He said he tried to call Russell Wilson and he called from a block number in that sense. So that brings in the question of what's the deal with Russell Wilson? Everybody kind of called him a cornball and sense of that nature in the locker room, that he can't hang out with the regular people, with the regular athletes and something like that. Maybe he thinks of himself more highly than the athletes, and maybe that's probably the situation of why the Broncos are doing trash this year. That's why the Broncos are doing really bad, because he's not connecting with his teammates. He's not doing his due diligence to kind of connect with his teammates. Probably because he has his own. I'm heard he has his own office, his own parking space. He has a lot of these kind of perks with the Denver Broncos. Even before just coming in, he didn't really earn the stripes there, and with that big contract. So we'll see how it is. And then another thing that I kind of was interesting in that podcast that Marshawn Lynch talked about was obviously, that Super Bowl run, that first Super Bowl they blew out the Denver Broncos. The second time they came close to a back-to-back and potential dynasty with them. That play call, like they said, like he talked about with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll kind of babied him, babied Russell Wilson, kind of wanted Russell Wilson to win that MVP. I'm kind of thinking that's probably was the deal, because they threw the ball on the 1 yard line or something, the third yard line, and they could have ran the ball. I'm thinking that they probably rushed that whole sequence. They could have called a timeout, but they rushed it. They threw that ball right away, and it was just one of the dumbest plays in NFL history. And he just said he was confused in the whole situation. He laughed at Pete Carroll at the end of once that interception happened. And Russell Wilson's like, "Oh, we have it next time." I'm like, you only go to the Super Bowl. It's very hard to go to the Super Bowl, and he's like, "We have it that next time." So I don't see Russell Wilson ever going to the Super Bowl ever again. You can't be risking it like that. You got to go with the sure thing. Marshawn Lynch had a beast game in that Super Bowl, and that ultimately, you just got to run that ball in. You have to run that ball in. No ifs, ands, or buts. You got to run that ball in. And ultimately, I think that was the Super Bowl that kind of put Tom Brady in my eyes as the GOAT. That was the Super Bowl where Tom Brady won. And I'm like, yo, he is the GOAT. And that was one of the craziest plays, one of the dumbest plays that happened. And that's all I got to say on that topic. Marshawn Lynch had a great career. It kind of sucks that his career almost comes to that. Oh, you should have run it. Why didn't you run it? He can't do the play calls. He doesn't have the say of if they should run or pass the ball. So it kind of sucks that his career kind of hinges on like, oh, why didn't they run it on the 1 yard line and stuff like that. So that sucks for him. But I think he's the first ballot. I mean, not. I believe that he is maybe not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I believe that he is a Hall of Famer nevertheless. And it kind of sucks that he wasn't able to, in that second Super Bowl, rushing in for that game-winning touchdown. But, whatever happens. But, it's good to recap the Shannon Sharp. I'm loving the Shannon Sharp podcast. I love the guests that he had. And it was Marshawn Lynch. So I love Marshawn Lynch. Protect your chickens. I'm here so I don't get fined situation. But let me know if you guys are interested in what I'm talking about. Please comment, share, whatever I should talk about. NBA is coming up soon, so I'll be talking more about the NBA. Much love. Peace.